Well, hello everybody. I'm back with another CarPod. Um, I'm debating between the terms CarPod and like rolling podcast because rolling podcast like also makes sense. And I feel like it rolls off the tongue a little more, but I don't know. Let me know what you think. Anyways, so today, I wanted to do another personal or non-creative episode, and I was like, oh, what do I want to do? And I have so much, and then I gotta do another. I'm bullying because that is always a big topic, and everyone unfortunately can probably relate to it one way or another. So let's talk about bullying. I've been bullied a ton. Through school and even in the workplace, and I think it's something that's not talked about enough. And sometimes I even think that like when schools and workplaces put bullying rules and stuff into effect, I don't think they're really taken seriously a lot because I don't know, it's so weird. It's like, a lot of, like, doing, like, when you're bullied, it's like, everyone expects there to be no way out. Like, you can't tattle, or, you can't tattle on somebody, you can't tell somebody, because that's not cool, right? Often like the coolest way to deal with it tends to be violence, fighting, and all that stuff. And it's just a weird concept. Like it's always been cool, it seems, to be mean to other people. To be mean to other people, everyone thinks it's cool. And I just, like, it's just so weird, and I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. I've never understood it, but that's the way it tends to be. And what's weird is like, when you're in school, I even remember teachers saying, like, not to tattle on other people. Like, don't tattle, don't be a tattletale, and it's so interesting because I feel like a lot of us grew up with that rule in mind, and it's interesting to know, like, the acts of violence that have happened in our world in the last however many years, and to think that people knew that the person had the idea, but they didn't probably want to tattle or something, and then it happened, and then people died. Excuse me, let me go through some of my stories of bullying I'll just start from, like, school. And I feel like there's a few different, like, forms of bullying. There's the bullying where, like, your bully or whatever doesn't really mean to do real harm to you. They just are, like, messing with you, like, just joking with you, but, like, they make fun of you and they're, like, harsh towards you, but, like, they don't mean it. And then the other form is, like, like, someone does not like you, or they heard a rumor about you and they just want to make your life miserable. And so they point out all the things they don't like about you, like you're fat, you're gay, or you're this or that or whatever. Those are, like, I feel like the two most common ones that I remember hearing. And, like, the big one seemed to be the gay one. But yeah, I always remember, like, the gay thing was always the biggest thing. And, like, it was interesting because looking back now, that was a form of bullying where, like, your bully just wanted to give you a hard time, and, like, they really didn't know you. They couldn't pick out something specific in you, so they just called you gay, and they told other people that you're gay. Because we unfortunately live in a society where a lot of people find, like, same-sex marriage or, like, gay or trans or whatever, they find all that stuff uncomfortable. It makes them uncomfortable. It's weird to them. So that was the easiest thing to do, because if they call you gay or something, if you're not gay, then you are upset because you are being mislabeled. Or if you are gay, then it's hurtful to you because you are, and they are reminding you that that concept is uncomfortable to them or to a lot of people, and that you're a minority or that you're different. And being different also is something that a lot of people didn't want. They didn't want to be different. And, like, now in my adult life, I love being different. And I think that's what makes me unique, is being different. But when you're in school, you don't know any better, and you don't want to be different. You want to be just like everybody else. You want to fit in, which is understandable. But I think the idea of fitting in is different than what you think it is when you're in school. The true idea of fitting in is literally just, like, your personalities, like, clash well, or common interests. I think are two ways of fitting in. You can be very different, like dress differently or have different interests than the others, but you know, if your personalities align well or something, or someone finds your difference interesting, then you fit in. It's just interesting because, like, you would think that it would be cool to be, like, nice to each other, for everyone to be happy and to have fun and have a good time at school. But for some reason, bantering each other is what ended up being cool, and being hurtful. And they always say that people are mean to you because they have low self-esteem themselves, which is probably true in most cases. I always wonder what my classmates' upbringing was like looking back at different of my bullies. I'm curious what their upbringing was like. Like, I can't imagine that their home life was that pleasant if that's how they're acting. And one of my most memorable bullying things was probably one of the gym classes I had, in the locker rooms. And there are these two kids that their lockers were right next to me, and it was weird because they would, like, go back and forth from being nice to being rude. And, like, the one kid was kind of dorky but still kind of mean. The other one had more of a chip on his shoulder and, you know, was mean. But, like, I think the one kid would just, like, punch me in the arm for fun, just to, like, try to bug me or something. And, like, that was the other thing too, was, like, you know, violence and fighting was all kids ever talked about too, and everyone was always play fighting each other in the hallways or whatever. Yeah, this kid was, like, keep punching me in my arm and stuff, and not in the face or anything, but in the arm, and it would hurt, and I'd be like, hey, you know, stop doing that. And I probably at the time wasn't firm enough, because, gosh, when I was in school, I was a very different person than I am now. I was very shy and laughed it off, probably. And you wish you could go back to school the way you are now, and you would have a much easier time like standing up for yourself. And that's the biggest thing, was like when you're bullied in school, at least for me, like looking back, my parents tried to help me and give me advice, but like also looking back, the advice like wasn't that great, and like some of it was good advice. Like, my mom would tell me like, you need to defend yourself, you need to stick up for yourself, but like she didn't really know how, or like I didn't really know how to do that. Even if I did, I don't even know if I would have at the time been mature enough to like have the guts to do that, because I think another thing too, when someone does something like that to you, is they want to get a rise out of you. It's almost like they just like want to pick fights with you, and they want to get you upset and rise you up to the point where you fight them. And like obviously sticking up for yourself, like I feel like depending like what the tone that you're supposed to use could definitely come off as being combative. And sometimes I feel like that could fuel the fire in a way, in some ways, but it depends on the person and in the situation. But yeah, so like they would just like, I think, just punch me and stuff, and I would tell them to stop and they wouldn't stop, so I just kind of like tried to ignore it. And then I think like the one kid got irritated with the fact that I was telling him to stop, and he's like, I don't want to stop. And to show you that I want to stop and that I am displeased with the fact that you're trying to tell me what to do, I'm going to take your Axe. And I remember specifically whatever the pink scent of Axe was, because we all used Axe back in the day. He would take it and he threw it across. He like chucked it across the locker room, and I got it back. I forget if another student like gave it back to me or if I went and got it myself, but like it was dented because it hit something so hard that it dented, and there were like aluminum bottles, but yeah. And like I remember I told my gym teacher about it. I forget what his name was, but he was like awesome. I really liked him, and he really liked me. He saw the good in me and stuff like that. And so I think he was gonna watch this student for me, and I think it ended up happening again. I was telling him to stop, and then I remember the teacher came over and told him to stop doing what he was doing, and he got annoyed and didn't want to, and he had the audacity to like argue back and forth with the teacher, and I think the teacher ended up kicking him out of class for the day or something. And I just remember just feeling, good that that the student was no longer in the class that day, at least, or for whatever. I forget if that was end of class or whatever. But like, I also just felt embarrassed and whatnot that like it was me, that like I personally had to deal with that. And like it just just like the anxiety from witnessing a student and a teacher like almost getting at it, like that gave me anxiety, and it was not a good time. And I often wonder where these people are nowadays. And I know at the time, like I think they sold like weed to each other like right in front of me in that class too, which I think was very common. And like nowadays though, like back then, I think I still viewed weed as like a bad thing. But like nowadays I do see I have a very different opinion about it now, but like, I'm like, in school, really? Like, do you have to do it in a locker room? Or, you wonder. I just knowing how these kids carried themselves, like, I doubt that they responsibly used marijuana. I just don't. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I just don't think they did. And then the workplace, I haven't had too many bullying in the workplace. I won't mention where it was from, but it was a sports network. That's as close as I'll get to telling you where it was. It was a sports network. And I am not a sports person. If anything, I like motorsports. I don't care to watch like football or basketball or golf or anything like that. I've never been a sports person. And in turn, I don't really know the rules very well. I don't care to know them, and I'm not a stats person. So I got a job at this place so that I could get some media experience, because they were a sports network. But oddly enough, like, obviously when I started out, I got all these like jobs that really didn't have a whole lot to do with media. Like, they did, but they didn't. And this is one of the first media jobs I had. There were very little people there, like crew members there, that were nice to me. Like, gosh, the banter there was just unreal. And I think, like, this is still Shy Zach we're talking about, but he's better. He's a little more out there now, but he's still pretty shy. But they knew that I mean, it's very obvious when people don't know sports very well. But like, they could tell I wasn't very good at sports, and like, I think I really quickly, I think I lost a lot of their respect very quickly there. But like, yeah, gosh, like, I would get screamed at times and yelled at, and for various things. Like, one of the things I had to do as like production assistant, where for football, like, you have different roles depending on the sport. Like, for football, I had to follow the camera guy that would roam the sidelines of the football field, and get those ground level shots. And they did train me for what I had to do to make sure that, like, the camera cord didn't get tangled or, around all the people or whatever. They trained me, but like, you really aren't gonna understand what you're doing until a few games. And this was like my first game, and like, the camera guy he was just focused on what he was doing, and he was, much more experienced than I was. And there was a point where, like, he took off running, and like, the cable wasn't ready for him to move, and the camera like jerked him back, and he like looked at me all angry and kind of yelled at me. And yeah, I don't know, it just, like, you wear headsets so that the whole team can keep tabs on everyone can communicate throughout the broadcast, and like, the amount of banter you get the whole time, just a lot of it's just everyone messing with each other and just having fun. But like, a lot of it too was, people being, rude to one another. So, well, I got to end this podcast. I wasn't quite finished, but there will be a part 2 of this, if not more. So, thank you guys for watching and listening. And I hope this was helpful to prove to you that we've all been through bullying. And like, I'm hoping that a lot of you watching this are younger kids or like teenagers that are dealing with it now, because I am like you're looking to the future to the point where, like, you just got to deal with it while you're in school, and then a lot of what's going on, a lot of these people are going to not be successful. I've seen some of my bullies on the streets, and a lot of them honestly are no longer with us. They're no longer alive, which is, I know that's pretty intense to say, but it's true. So thank you guys for watching and listening, and I will see you soon for part 2.